Daisy, can I ask you a question?
Of course. You usually ask interesting questions.
Imagine someone gave you a notebook with one empty page. They told you, write down one dream you truly want to achieve. What would you write?
Only one page?
Only one.
That's harder than it sounds. We usually have lots of ideas in our heads, but choosing just one dream makes you think carefully.
Exactly. Sometimes we say we have 10 dreams, but maybe we really have one dream hiding behind the others.
I think I'd write this. I want to help people become confident English speakers. Not just people who know lots of grammar, people who aren't afraid to start conversations. People who enjoy speaking English instead of worrying about every mistake.
I like that. Your dream isn't really about English. It's about confidence.
You're right. English is simply the bridge. Confidence is the destination.
That's interesting, because many dreams are like that. Someone says, I want a better job, but maybe what they really want is freedom. Someone else says, I want to travel. Maybe what they truly want is adventure.
Or connection. Meeting people from different countries. Learning about different cultures. Creating memories that last a lifetime.
Now, we'd like to ask you something. If we were sitting together in a quiet cafe, drinking coffee and talking like old friends, what dream would you tell us about? Take a few seconds. Don't think about what sounds impressive. Think about what feels true. Maybe your dream is learning English well enough to travel without fear. Maybe it's changing careers. Maybe it's opening a small business. Maybe it's buying your first home. Or perhaps your dream is much simpler, having more time with your family and living a calmer life.
Whatever came into your mind, hold on to it for a moment. Because today's episode isn't about becoming successful overnight. It's about something much more realistic. How ordinary people slowly build extraordinary lives through small, consistent actions.
Along the way, you'll naturally learn useful English expressions that people use when talking about dreams, ambitions, future plans, and personal goals. You'll hear real conversations, practical examples, and speaking practice you can use immediately.
And don't worry if you don't understand every single word. Just relax, listen, enjoy the conversation. Your English improves every time you expose yourself to real, natural language.
So, wherever you're listening, maybe on the bus, while walking, driving to work, or relaxing at home, we're happy you're here.
Let's begin our conversation about dreams, goals, and the small decisions that can quietly change a life.
Daisy, can I tell you something a little funny?
Please do.
A few years ago, I bought a beautiful notebook. The cover said, Dream Big. I was so excited that I thought, this notebook is going to change my life.
Let me guess. You wrote one page and the rest of the notebook stayed empty.
That's exactly what happened. For months, I kept saying, I'll come back to it tomorrow. But tomorrow kept moving further away.
I think many people have a notebook like that. Or a language learning app they downloaded with great excitement. Or a gym membership they promise to use every week.
The excitement is easy. The daily habit is the difficult part.
Exactly. And that's where many people confuse dreams and goals. A dream gives you direction. A goal gives you something to do today.
I like that. Could you explain it with an example?
Of course. Imagine someone says, "My dream is to travel around Europe." That's a wonderful dream. But if nothing happens after that, it's only an idea. Now imagine they say, "Every month I'll save a little money. I'll improve my English by practicing 15 minutes every evening. I'll apply for my passport this weekend." Those are goals. They're small, they're practical, and together they slowly move the dream closer.
So a dream answers, where do I want to go? A goal answers, what am I going to do next?
Exactly. Here's another example many of our listeners will understand. Someone says, "I want to speak English fluently." That's the dream. But what happens tomorrow morning?
Maybe they listen to an English podcast while getting ready for work.
Good. What happens tomorrow evening?
They spend 10 minutes speaking English aloud instead of only reading.
Excellent. And what happens next weekend?
Maybe they watch an English movie without translating every sentence.
Perfect. Those are goals. Notice something interesting. None of those goals are huge, but together they create progress.
You know, there's another mistake people often make.
Which one?
They think every goal has to be difficult. If it feels easy, they believe it isn't important.
That's true. But imagine climbing a staircase. Would you ignore the first step because it's small?
Of course not. Without the first step, you never reach the second.
Exactly. Small actions may look ordinary, but ordinary actions repeated consistently create extraordinary results.
Let's learn a useful expression. Little by little. Native speakers use it when progress happens slowly over time.
For example, my pronunciation is improving little by little, or I'm saving money little by little.
Let's practice together. Repeat after us. Little by little. Now, another sentence. I'm getting better little by little. Excellent.
Here's another expression you'll hear quite often. Keep at it.
I love that one. It simply means don't stop. Continue even if progress feels slow.
For example, learning English isn't always easy, but keep at it. Or, you're improving, just keep at it.
That's something we genuinely want to say to everyone listening today. Whatever your dream is, whether it's learning English, changing careers, starting a business, or simply becoming a more confident version of yourself, keep at it. Small progress is still progress.
And remember, a dream changes your future. A goal changes your today. And today's small actions are what eventually make tomorrow's dream possible.
Daisy, can I share a story with you?
Absolutely. I always enjoy your stories.
This happened about a year ago. I was waiting at an airport for a delayed flight. Everyone looked a little tired. Some people were checking their phones, others were drinking coffee, and a few were just staring out the window. Then I noticed an older gentleman sitting next to me. He was reading an English phrase book.
At the airport? That's interesting.
It caught my attention because he wasn't reading quickly. He was quietly repeating each sentence to himself. Sometimes he'd smile, sometimes he'd try again. He wasn't embarrassed at all.
Did you talk to him?
Yes. I asked, "Are you learning English?" He smiled and said, "I started 6 months ago." I was surprised because he looked like he was in his late 60s. So I asked, "What made you start now?"
I'm curious about his answer.
He looked out of the window for a moment and said, "My granddaughter lives in another country. Every time we have a video call, she speaks a little more English and a little less of my language." He smiled again, but this time it was a little emotional. Then he said, "I don't want language to become a wall between us."
Wow, that's beautiful. His dream wasn't really about learning English. It was about staying close to someone he loved.
Exactly. Suddenly, grammar wasn't the important part. Vocabulary wasn't the important part. Connection was.
That's something we often forget. Behind almost every goal, there's a deeper reason. Someone wants a better job because they want to support their family. Someone wants to lose weight because they want to feel healthier. Someone wants to learn English because they want more confidence, more opportunities, or stronger relationships.
The dream gives meaning to the work. Without that reason, it's easy to quit.
Harry, that reminds me of another useful English question. Why does this matter to you? Native speakers ask this when they want to understand someone's real motivation.
For example, why does learning English matter to you? A simple answer could be, because I want to communicate with people from different countries. Or because I want better career opportunities.
Notice something. There's no perfect answer. Your reason is personal, and that's what makes it powerful.
Here's another expression our listeners can start using today. I'm working toward. Instead of saying, I want, you can say, I'm working toward. It sounds natural and shows you're already taking action.
Listen to these examples. I'm working toward becoming a more confident speaker. I'm working toward starting my own business. I'm working toward a healthier lifestyle.
Let's practice together. Repeat after us. I'm working toward my dream. Now try this one. Every small step takes me closer to my goal. Excellent.
Before we continue, we'd like you to do something. Think about one dream you've had for a long time. Now, ask yourself one simple question. Why is this dream important to me? Not what the dream is. Why does it matter? Sometimes that answer becomes your greatest source of motivation.
Because on difficult days, your reason will keep you moving long after your excitement has disappeared.
Dreams may begin with inspiration, but they grow through purpose, patience, and one small step after another.
Daisy, can I be honest?
Always.
I think starting a dream is exciting. The difficult part isn't the beginning. It's what happens 2 or 3 weeks later.
I completely agree. At the beginning, everything feels new. You're full of energy. You imagine all the wonderful things that might happen. Then, real life arrives. Work becomes busy. Family responsibilities grow. You feel tired. And suddenly, your dream starts moving lower and lower on your priority list.
That's exactly what happens to me. I don't usually quit on purpose. I just become distracted. One missed day becomes 3. 3 days become 2 weeks. Then I tell myself, maybe I'll start again next month.
I think everyone listening has experienced that at least once. The important thing isn't pretending it never happens. The important thing is knowing how to come back.
So, what's your advice?
I stopped asking myself, do I feel motivated today? Instead, I ask, what's one small thing I can do today? Sometimes the answer is only 5 minutes, but 5 minutes is much better than doing nothing.
That's a great mindset, because once you begin, it's often easier to continue.
Exactly. Starting is usually the hardest part.
You know, motivation reminds me of the weather.
Now I'm curious.
Some days it's bright and sunny, other days it's cloudy and rainy. But your goals shouldn't depend on the weather.
That's a wonderful comparison. Feelings change. Good habits stay. If you only study when you feel excited, you'll probably stop whenever life becomes difficult. But if studying becomes part of your routine, you keep moving even on ordinary days.
So, instead of chasing motivation, we should build habits.
Exactly. Habits quietly do the work that motivation can't always do.
Here's an expression you'll hear native speakers use. Get back on track. What does it mean?
It means returning to your plan after you've been away from it. For example, I didn't practice English last week, but now I'm getting back on track. Or, after my vacation, I got back on track with my exercise routine.
That's a useful phrase, because life doesn't always go as planned. Missing a few days doesn't mean you failed. It simply means it's time to begin again.
Let's practice together. Repeat after us. I'm getting back on track. Now, another sentence. It's never too late to get back on track. Excellent.
Daisy, I think there's another problem. People compare themselves to others all the time.
That's true. Someone watches a fluent English speaker on YouTube and thinks, I'll never speak like that. But what they don't see are the years of practice behind that confidence.
It's like watching the final scene of a movie without seeing everything that happened before it.
Exactly. Instead of comparing yourself with someone else, compare yourself with the person you were 6 months ago. Can you understand more English now? Can you speak a little more confidently? Can you make fewer mistakes? If the answer is yes, you're already making progress.
And that's something worth celebrating. Not because you've reached the finish line, but because you're still moving forward.
Remember this. You don't need perfect motivation. You don't need a perfect plan. You simply need the courage to return again and again. Because every time you come back to your dream comes a little closer to you. Harry, can I ask you something that might surprise our listeners?
I like surprising questions. Go ahead.
Do you think it's okay for a dream to change?
A few years ago, I would have said no. I thought changing your dream meant giving up. Now I see it differently.
Me too. Sometimes people hold on to an old dream because they think changing it means they failed. But life changes. We change. Our priorities change, and that's perfectly normal.
That reminds me of a friend from university. His dream was to become a professional football player. He trained almost every day. It wasn't just a hobby, it was his whole life.
What happened?
During an important match, he injured his knee. The doctors told him he probably wouldn't play professionally again. For a long time, he felt completely lost. He kept asking himself, if I can't do this, then who am I?
That's a difficult question. When a dream ends, it can feel like losing part of your identity.
Exactly. But here's the interesting part. A few years later, he became a youth football coach. Today, he teaches children every weekend. And every time I see him, he has the biggest smile on his face.
So his dream didn't really disappear. It simply changed direction.
Right. At first, his dream was to play football. Now, his dream is to help others enjoy football. The destination changed, but the passion stayed the same.
I think that's an important lesson. Sometimes we become attached to one specific path, but there are often many paths that lead to a meaningful life.
That's true. Imagine someone dreams of becoming a doctor. Life takes them in a different direction. Years later, they become a medical researcher, a nurse, or even a teacher who trains future doctors. They're still helping people, just in a different way.
Exactly. Instead of asking, did my dream change? Maybe ask, am I still moving toward the kind of life I want? That's a much more helpful question.
Here's another useful expression. Follow your passion. You'll hear this expression in interviews, podcasts, and everyday conversations.
It means doing something that genuinely interests and motivates you. For example, she followed her passion and started her own bakery. Or he followed his passion for photography and became a travel writer.
But here's something important. Following your passion doesn't always mean quitting your job tomorrow. Sometimes it simply means making a little time each week for something you truly enjoy.
That's a realistic way to think about it. Dreams don't always begin with a huge decision. Sometimes they begin with one free evening, one online course, or one small project.
Let's practice together. Repeat after us. I'm following my passion. Now another sentence. My dream may change, but I'll keep moving forward. Excellent.
Before we continue, we'd like you to think about something. Have you ever changed your mind about a dream? Maybe the dream itself changed, or maybe your reason changed. That's okay. Growing as a person often means discovering new possibilities.
And don't compare your journey with someone else's. Some people discover their dream at 16. Others discover it at 40. Some discover it after retirement. There isn't one perfect timeline for everyone.
What's important isn't how quickly you find your path. What's important is that you keep walking. One step, one decision, one conversation at a time.
Daisy, we've talked a lot about dreams today. But what if someone actually asks you about your future in English?
That's a great point. Having a dream is one thing. Talking about it naturally is another.
Exactly. Sometimes learners know what they want to say, but they spend so much time translating in their heads that the conversation stops.
So let's imagine a few real-life situations. Not a classroom, just normal conversations that could happen almost anywhere.
Imagine you're meeting someone for the first time. After talking for a few minutes, they ask, "So what are you working toward these days?" That's a very natural question.
Instead of giving a long answer, you could simply say, "I'm working toward improving my English because I'd like to work with international clients." Or, "I'm working towards saving enough money to travel next year."
Notice how natural that sounds. You're not just talking about a dream. You're talking about what you're doing right now.
Here's another common question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Many people feel nervous when they hear it.
The good news is, the interviewer usually isn't expecting a perfect answer. They simply want to understand your goals.
You could say, "I'd like to continue learning, improve my communication skills, and take on more responsibility."
Or, "I hope to grow professionally while continuing to improve my English." Simple, natural, confident. Here's a conversation that happens all the time. A friend asks, "Do you have any plans for this year?"
Instead of saying, "I don't know," you could say, "I'd really like to read more books, improve my English, and spend more time with my family."
That's something native speakers often do. They mix personal goals with professional goals because life isn't only about work.
Harry, I have a question for you. If someone asked, "What's one skill you'd like to improve?" what would you say?
I'd probably say I'd like to become a better public speaker. Not because I want to give speeches every day, but because good communication helps in almost every part of life. What about you?
I'd say I'd like to become a better listener. People often focus on speaking well, but listening carefully is just as important.
I completely agree. The best conversations usually happen when both people feel heard.
Here's another expression you'll hear quite often. "I'm looking forward to." It means you're excited about something in the future. For example, "I'm looking forward to visiting Japan." Or, "I'm looking forward to speaking English more confidently."
Let's practice together. Repeat after us. I'm looking forward to the future. Now another sentence. I'm looking forward to achieving my goals. Excellent.
Before we finish this part, we'd like to give you a quick speaking challenge. Complete these sentences aloud. Don't overthink them. Just speak natural.
My biggest dream is...
This year, I'm working toward...
I'm looking forward to...
Perfect. Did you notice something? None of your answers needed difficult vocabulary. Clear, honest English is much more powerful than complicated English.
And every time you answer a real-life question like these, you're training yourself to think in English instead of translating. That's one of the biggest steps toward becoming a confident speaker.
Harry, we've talked about dreams, goals, motivation, and even the moments when life doesn't go as planned.
We have. And you know what I've realized?
What's that?
A dream doesn't change your life in one big moment. It changes your life through hundreds of small moments. One decision, one conversation, one lesson, one brave step. When you put them together, they become something much bigger.
I couldn't agree more. People often ask, "What's the secret to success?" I don't think it's one secret. I think it's showing up again and again, especially on the days when you don't feel like it.
That's a lesson that works for almost everything. Learning English, starting a business, getting healthier, saving money, building better relationships. The principle is the same. Keep moving.
Before we finish, let's review a few expressions from today's conversation.
Ready?
A dream is the future you hope to create. A goal is a small action that moves you toward that future.
Little by little means making slow but steady progress.
Keep at it means don't give up. Continue even when progress feels slow.
Get back on track means returning to your plan after you've stopped for a while.
And I'm looking forward to is a natural way to talk about something you're excited about in the future.
Now it's your turn. Imagine you're introducing yourself to a new friend. Answer these questions aloud. Take your time.
What's your biggest dream?
Why is that dream important to you?
What small step will you take this week?
How will learning English help you reach that dream?
Wonderful. If you answered those questions, you didn't just listen to English today. You used English to talk about your own life. And that's one of the best ways to become a confident speaker.
Before you leave, we'd love to give you one small challenge. Find a notebook or open the Notes app on your phone. Write these 3 sentences.
My dream is. This week I'm looking forward to.
Don't write a whole page, just one honest sentence for each. It will take less than 2 minutes, but it might become the first step towards something meaningful.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us create more English conversations like these for learners around the world.
And we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Write something like this. Hi, I'm Ahmed from Egypt. My dream is to work abroad. This week, I'll practice English for 15 minutes every day. Or, I'm Sophia from Brazil. My goal is to become more confident when speaking English. And today, I took my first step by listening to this podcast.
We read your comments, and it's always inspiring to see learners from so many different countries supporting each other. You're not learning alone. You're part of a global community of people who are improving one conversation at a time.
Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're listening on your way to work, while studying, taking a walk, or relaxing at home, we're grateful you chose to learn with us.
Remember, don't wait for the perfect moment. Start with the moment you have. Dream big. Set small goals. Celebrate small wins, and keep believing in yourself.
Because every fluent English speaker, every successful business owner, every talented artist, and every confident person once stood exactly where you are now. At the beginning.
Take one small step today, then another tomorrow. Little by little, you'll become the person you've been dreaming of becoming.
We'll see you in the next episode. Take care, keep practicing, and keep moving toward your dreams.
Bye, everyone.